I am lusting after my coworker and I feel terrible. I am married. Have been for 2 years. I met my wife many years ago. We dated for 2 years before we settled down. The 4 years together we have never had time, not even so much as physical touch. I was very much okay with this. My wife had personal reasons and I supported her. We have been to couples counseling and therapy groups but my wife hasn't been ready to try anything and that's okay. All this time I have never been tempted by anyone else. I have always been very attracted to my wife. She's everything I could have asked for. But recently she hasn't been emotionally here for me either. We're growing apart and I'm noticing it slowly. I've spoken to her about it but she doesn't see it. I had to basically force her to tell me she loved me one night because she always made a deal of saying it every single night before bed. I started a new job recently and everyone here is lovely. It's a functioning team that works closely together. I was surprised to learn that my coworkers often go to each other's places or hang out at the bar. One coworker in particular has taken a liking to me. Her and I often stick together in the office. Her humor is just like mine, she's super friendly and understanding. She makes an amazing friend. But lately I have been finding myself getting attracted to her. More and more I just want to be around her. Today I looked at her and thought, wow, she's beautiful, and I felt immediately guilty. I can feel myself slipping up. She has invited me over to a game night at her place and I know better to put myself in any situation. But a part of me wants to go, even though I know I won't. Guys, how do I get through this? I know I won't ever have time with anyone that's not my wife, but I'm feeling so lonely and wanting love. My wife is drifting away from me and I'm trying my best to pull her back, but it's not working. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, why do you want to be with a woman who is neither emotionally nor physically supportive? Can't you two just be friends then? Op answer, mostly because I know what she can be emotionally. It's why I married her. She was my best friend for many years before. She was my rock for a long time. I don't know what she's going through now, but maybe I can help and get through it. Redditor 2, sounds like your marriage is slowly ending. If I were you, I'd start the divorce proceedings. Then take things slow with your coworker. Op answer, oh my, that thought made my heart drop. I can't imagine leaving her. But I can't be closed-minded. Thank you for the advice. Redditor 3, I'm sorry to say this sounds like you made your celibate bed, now lie in it situation. Put the coworker out of the picture for a minute. It's not abnormal to expect to have time life with your partner. It's actually abnormal not to. So, you need to figure out what's happening with this marriage. Get back into counseling with the purpose of finding out whether this marriage is sustainable. Otherwise, this attraction to your coworker is not going to be your last. You're going to be tormented and feel guilty, and if you act on the attraction, you're going to open a messy can of worms. If you and your wife come to the conclusion that the marriage can't continue, then you're free to pursue whoever you want. Op answer, I see. This is definitely a first for me. I never considered being with another woman. I never wanted to give up on my wife. But some changes have to happen. I'll see if I can motivate her to go back to therapy with me. Update to last post, I've fallen for my coworker. A few days after I posted this, I went to my wife and begged her to talk to me. She obliged for once and we had a discussion about my waning faith in our relationship. I told her that I was starting to slip away, and I need her to let me know if she still wanted to stay. I told her I'm getting no love from her and that I'm honestly scared that I'm going to start to look for it in someone else. My wife looked at me for all but 2 seconds, walked away and said, "I'll let you know." I'm devastated. I guess my marriage really is over. She couldn't even spend more than a minute talking about our issues. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. She has gone to her mother's house at the beginning of the week and hasn't spoken to me since. Meanwhile, on my end, the mentioned coworker needed a ride home after work one day, so I offered. I never drove her home before, but that whole car ride we were laughing, dancing to music, talking. I was so enamored that I could barely pay attention to the laws of the road. I couldn't stop thinking about it even after I dropped her and was on my way home. I feel as if I have cheated and I need to fess up. Redditors' reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, call your wife and ask if she wants a divorce, or you get a lawyer and start the divorce. Your co-worker isn't someone you should get involved with until after a divorce and you are in a better place. Op answer, I haven't the slightest clue where to begin with a divorce. I have never considered it before today. But I'll do my research. I can't believe that's what has to be done. Redditor 2, as someone who has been the new flame, do not get involved until it is all very much over and a divorce is at the very least well and truly in motion. Don't rush that. It's not good for anyone. Redditor follow-up, I'm the new flame. Didn't wait. 3 years and counting of a hellish situation. I wish more people knew about this. Redditor 3, after reading both your posts, it basically feels like you set yourself up for failure from the very beginning. Unless you're asexual or have no libido, which is not the case, you clearly feel something for the other woman. Why did you even agree to this marriage? How did you think this was gonna end? Do you expect to live the life of a monk? You haven't touched your wife in 4 years of relationship, like WTF. And the huge contradiction between your wife being your rock for many years, you said in the comments, and her slowly pulling away. It sounds like either you are not telling us the whole story or you're oblivious to what your wife is going through. And I find it odd that this woman has apparently been there for you for years as a partner and as a friend before that, but it has taken you a year of emotional distance to have a wandering eye. You seemed fine before that, even with no SX. It's not about the coworker. She's just the shiny new distraction that caught your attention while your marriage is a mess. If it wasn't her, it would have been someone else. Also, I see nowhere that she has any interest in you whatsoever beside casual friendship. Lastly, you told your already struggling wife that you're slipping, meaning you're falling out of love. And possibly hinted towards this other woman. I don't blame her for not reciprocating your attempts. It's like kicking her when she's already down. Of course she's not gonna ask you for help in getting up. And no, I don't mean that you're responsible for fixing everything, but yes, you are responsible to not cheat on your wife or give her ultimatums. In your own words, your wife has been perfect partner for years and not a crazy psycho, but now that she's down, seems like you're letting her down. I assume what your wife is going through has to do with either her past trauma or feelings of inadequacy as a wife who cannot provide intimacy to her husband. Both are very complex issues to seek help for and talk about. I hope you wait for her to come home and talk to you instead of nuking your marriage by chasing the grass on the other side. Redditor follow-up, I feel like missing the part where this has been going on for multiple years. I agree there's no need to make the wife feel worse about it, but how long is he supposed to wait for her to open up and fix things? That's not exactly his responsibility either. Story 2. Don't ignore red flags. I am heartbroken. Feeling guilty. Feeling I hit the bad lottery in life. 14 years relationship, 2 kids, comfy home, good financial situation. She's valuing an affair over everything we had. But, those 14 years were not butter smooth, she had her secrets. She lied to me before, for smaller things. And she always felt me feel like I was guilty of it. Oh gosh, I love my kids so much, but in all honesty, never, ever, ignore a red flag like your partner lying to you and feeling no remorse for whatever reason. Now I will be a single parent. I will go back to renting a place. I won't see my kids every day. I will have to pay so she still has a way to support our kids. And I will have to discuss my kids' life with someone that have not the same moral values as I do. Please, do your future self a favor and never ever ignore red flags. It's a fuckton better to be by yourself than to accept someone subpar to share your life, as they will eventually ruin it some way or another. Story 3, my story: infidelity after almost 2 decades. I need to tell my story. I need others to hear it, because right now I feel like I have no one else to tell it to. On May 23, 2022, 5:32 am, I discovered my wife had been cheating on me. Every morning before work I would kiss my wife and tell her that I love her. This morning she was snoring loudly in bed. She had been out drinking and only came back home around 3 am. This had been a trend lately, a trend that I accepted because I knew social interaction was important to her. I trusted her and did not want to stifle her. I did not like that she was doing this, but I thought as a good husband I had to allow this as she told me she needed this. I have been working more lately, a lot more. Work had picked up and we wanted to build a dream house together, a house that had been on hold for years due to permits and complications. I wanted us to be financially secure in these troubling times. I knew my wife was lonely, but we had plans for the future. We had a honeymoon planned and I thought more time with her friends would be enough for the short term. When I walked into the bedroom I saw her phone at the edge of the bed. I knew her password and I wanted to check it. I wanted to confirm that my suspicions were misplaced, that I was being paranoid, and most of all that I was wrong to ever think my spouse would be cheating on me. I took the phone and I looked through her messages. It only took a few texts to see that there was something going on, that I had been cheated on. I put the phone back where I found it, had no idea how to react and left the house driving to work. I cried the whole way there. I debated driving my car into a ditch, but I didn't. I arrived at work and I worked. A bit later I received the daily text I always receive from my wife, about her telling me that she thought I was handsome, that she loved me. I didn't want to deal with this in any way and I did not want to start this over text, so I replied in kind, and then I cried some more in the work bathroom. Halfway through my day I received an anonymous text message. Someone reaffirmed what I already knew, that my wife was cheating on me. They did not want to be involved but cared enough to let me know. It hurt so much knowing that other people already knew, that it was blatant enough and I didn't know right away. I still do not know who sent that text, but I am grateful that someone cared enough about either me or the sanctity of marriage to let me know. Reaching the end of the day took forever, but it came. I cried again on the way home. My wife was at our neighbor's house drinking and having a good time. I drove to where we were staying and texted her to come home. I remember her walking to the front door so vividly. She was fine, there was no pain present, and I knew that everything in our lives was about to change. I told my wife that I had received a troubling text message today. I asked her if she was cheating on me while showing her the message on my phone. She looked directly at me and said no. She wanted to know who sent the text, but I did not know either. I then asked her to see her phone. She handed it to me without question and asked me, "Don't you trust me?" I would never do that to you. She asked me, do you really think I would cheat on you? All while shaking her head in disbelief that I would not trust her. My heart sank further when I looked at her phone. She had deleted all the incriminating messages. There was a brief moment where I believed her. Did I have some sort of delusion of seeing those messages earlier? Was I a bad husband for searching through her phone? I knew I hadn't just made this up. I looked at her and told her that I had read her phone this morning, that she had deleted the texts and that I knew something was going on. She told me that something was going on, that a neighbor had kissed her and that she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want a little mistake to become a big issue. I knew there was more to it than that from the texts I had read. I wanted to leave right away. I wanted to grab a bag and go see my parents. I wanted to go be with someone who cared and loved me, but I was in shock. She had lied straight to my face. She had tried to shift the blame on me, and if I hadn't already known the truth, she would have let me feel like I was a bad partner. I feel like she would have been okay with that. We began to talk and agreed we should talk more about this. We have been together for close to 2 decades, it was so much to give up. In between tears we both spoke about issues we had been dealing with, we cried, we held each other and we spoke more about some of the failings of our relationship. A decrease in intimacy, not prioritizing each other and not feeling wanted. There were so many problems, and honestly, hearing them out loud felt good. It felt good because they were so manageable, but it didn't deal with the cheating and the lying. I took the next day off so we could talk more. When my wife had decided she would start hanging out with our neighbors on her own, we had an upfront and frank discussion. I warned her that men often lacked any form of female attention and showing interest in them, even friendly interest, could quickly lead to non-friendly feelings on their or her part. We both discussed that if any lines were crossed she would let me know right away and end those friendships before they turned into something that could destroy our relationship, and I believed her at that time. We had discussed so many times if there was anything that could tear our love apart, anything that could ruin our marriage, and we agreed that the only possible thing would have been cheating. She did this knowing this. She then began to tell me more of the incidents that had been occurring for weeks now. That it was not just her being kissed, but her partaking in all of it as well. She told me that she had told him multiple times that this was wrong, but it didn't stop her from going back. She told me that there was no time or anything below the belt, and she had told me she had broken off the relationship with him on May 20th. My heart wrenched again, because they were still sending dirty texts in the early morning of the 23rd. Every time she retold the story it was worse. Knowing that we had just been so open with each other for the past 24 hours and she was still lying to me broke me again. I cried more but still wasn't ready to let this go. The next day I tried to go to work, but once I arrived I needed to leave. I couldn't look anyone in the face without starting to tear up. I told my boss I needed to leave and that I needed the rest of the week off. He gave me the time off without hesitation. This was the first time I had really debated ending my life over this, and not just a passing thought. I was in a car. It felt like it would be easy to do, but I didn't want to kill myself. I just didn't want to be alive right now. I cried. I said out loud, I'm dying, and I have no one to talk to, no one to help me. And then I drove back to her. We spoke more. I told her I needed to know the full story about her infidelity. It had been going on for weeks. She had brought him to her birthday party that my parents had held at their house. She had introduced the man she was cheating on me with to my parents. The man was one of my distant cousins. My mom was so happy to see him because it had been years since they last seen each other. This broke something else in me. It made me feel like she felt no remorse for the cheating which had occurred, and it meant so little to her that she would bring this man into the lives of my family. I realized that I could not trust her, that I could not believe her story, and that honestly she did not feel overly bad about the cheating and lying, that her loneliness and sadness was justification for doing it. It was at that moment I also realized that I was in an abusive relationship. My wife had a rough time growing up. She had been cheated on, upped, lied to. It had never crossed my mind that she could turn into the abuser, but I felt like she had. She had first-hand experience of what awful was, and she was able to perform that evil onto the man she says she loves the most in the world, because I was not attentive enough, because I did not make her feel wanted, and because I had not always made her a top priority. I sunk further and old memories surfaced. When we were in university, she had cheated on me then. There was now a pattern, and I had no way to believe or know if more infidelity had happened again between then and now. We kept talking though. We talked about the changes we wanted to make in our lives, how we both wanted to be better people, and exhausted, we fell asleep holding each other. We woke up and began to kiss. We had time. I knew it was wrong to do this to myself, but I could tell she wanted to feel intimate. She wanted to feel wanted, and at that moment she wanted me, and despite all that happened, I wanted her and wanted to give her those feelings. We decided we needed to spend some time apart after this. We had a counseling session scheduled for the next Monday, but we should be apart to think clearly and to figure out if we still wanted to be together, if we even wanted the same things in life, and if I could ever get past this. I have next to no close friends, and my parents have always been close to me and my confidants. I said that I would be staying with them, and I knew she would ask me something at that moment, something I would agree to, not because it would help me in any way, probably the opposite, but something I would need to agree to if our relationship were to ever have a chance to continue. She asked me to not talk about the infidelity with them. And so I did. I spoke with my parents. I did not lie to them, but I did not tell them the whole truth, and I have been living with them for the past 2 days. Talking about some of our other big issues, me finding out I really want kids, her feeling a burden taken off by not wanting to have them. My parents have shown me nothing but love and support. They have grown to love my wife like a daughter. I did not want them to see her in that awful light. In all honesty, I love my wife, and despite all this I would never want to hurt her or for others to treat her poorly. That's not in my nature. That is why I am writing this. I needed to tell my story, for it to be heard, since I am not ready to tell those in my direct circle. I am still uncertain about what I am going to do, regardless of how obvious all the signs point to leaving each other, and I am hopeful that counseling will help me decide. Despite the sadness and hurt I feel, I want her to be happy, and maybe I cared and still care for her happiness more than mine. All my visions of the future always contained her. I think that's why this is so hard. I know I am blinded by my love for her. It feels awful that being so in love is such a bad thing. Writing this has helped me understand and deal with my emotions and feelings. I hope to write more about this in either private or public. If my experience resonates with you, I would be happy to hear yours and to sympathize and be there for you. If you have read all of this, thank you for listening. Edit. I want to thank everyone here who has reached out, commented and taken time to provide such thought-provoking advice. Some things I didn't want to hear but needed to hear. I needed this help and I didn't know I could get it. Thank you. Redditors reactions. Redditor 1, wow, first. I'm really sorry, man. I'm 6 years past losing my 26-year relationship woman. She left me for the AP. I had no chance at reconciliation. Her gaslighting you info is typically for cheaters. And her taking the AP to see your parents is just a way for her to get a high of cheating. She asked you to keep quiet. Don't. Let everyone know she is a cheater. My ex cheated on me with 3 different men in the 26 years together. Second guy was married. I took her back. Didn't work out. What you have to do now is concentrate on yourself. See a lawyer for divorce. Didn't leave your house. Make her move out. Start therapy. Helps. Good luck, man. It gets better. Ready to follow up? She asked you to keep quiet. Don't. Let everyone know she is a cheater. Yes. This right here. Redditor 2, I can relate to and feel the roller coaster of emotions in your story, but also the very calm, considered, and thoughtful reflections. Good job writing it all down. It's not easy when your mind is racing and you don't quite know what to think or feel. I also found it extremely therapeutic to write down my story, and when I felt upset or angry, I would reread it, edit it, add to it, and each revision made me feel calmer. I realized I was rewriting the narrative, because I had been believing the narrative my lying, cheating ex had been trying to push for so long, which had me riddled with guilt. You sound like a wonderful partner that your wife took advantage of and took for granted. It will take time, but gradually you'll realize that. And with time, you'll realize the woman you love does not exist and mourn the death of that persona, and when you get out the other side, you'll feel calmer and slowly able to move on. Best wishes. Also, very glad you went to your parents, who sound lovely and didn't act upon those troubling thoughts. Answer, the writing has really helped me deal with this. I had no idea how much I needed to hear that from another person. Thank you so much. Redditor 3, sorry brother. Sounds like there is still more to the story. Talk to a lawyer and draft both divorce papers and a post-nup. If you want to reconcile, the latter will help her think of consequences. Take the house. Mere presence of divorce papers might make her take this serious. Ask for a polygraph test that Jay's randomly given at the time of your choosing. Mere threat may get the truth. No more late night partying without you. No more daytime social outings without you for a while. Open electronics policy. No more deleting texts. Check phone records for ongoing behavior. Adults usually don't just stay above the belt for weeks. Prepare yourself for the worst. May want to get a pie on her phone. Check her deleted texts. Redditor 4, she gets her rocks off by humiliating you.